Welcome to Inside the Pickle Jar, a podcast where we dive into the wonderfully quirky world of neurodiversity. I'm Tonya Weaver, your friendly neighborhood relationship coach specializing in neurodiverse individuals and neurodivergent myself. From communication tips to managing those "did you really just say that" moments, every episode will share real-life stories, expert advice, and practical strategies to help you tackle obstacles and build stronger, more fulfilling connections. Listen on to Inside the Pickle Jar, where every connection matters, every pickle has its place. Welcome to Inside the Pickle Jar, where we explore all things surrounding neurodiversity and tackle topics important to all people, whether you're neurodivergent or love or maybe manage someone who is. I'm Tonya Weaver, your host and relationship coach specializing in neurodiversity. And today we're tackling a topic that's close to my heart. That's the stigma around neurodivergence and the true facts that everyone needs to know. So neurodivergence refers to the variation in the human brain regarding sociability, learning, attention, mood, and other mental functions. So this would include conditions like autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, synesthesia, and more. Despite the growing awareness, there's still a lot of stigma and misunderstanding surrounding neurodivergence, so let's break it down. First, we're going to talk about the common myths and misconceptions. So, one myth is that neurodivergent individuals are less capable or intelligent. And that comes from basically a lack of awareness and education. Many people are not well informed about neurodivergence and its various forms, such as autism, ADHD, and dyslexia. This lack of knowledge can lead to misconceptions and stereotypes. Then there's a historical stigma. And historically, differences in cognitive functioning were often viewed negatively. Terms like disorder or deficit have been used to describe neurodivergent conditions, and that reinforces the idea that these differences are inherently problematic. And then we have these standardized testing and education systems, especially in their public schools and even in our private schools. And traditional education systems, along with standardized tests, often favor neurotypical ways of thinking and learning. Neurodivergent individuals may struggle in these environments, and that leads to the false perception that they are less capable. And then there's a lot of media representation. The media often portrays neurodivergent individuals in a stereotypical or negative light, focusing on their challenges rather than their strengths. This can definitely shape public perception and enforce harmful stereotypes. Then there's the misunderstanding of behaviors. Neurodivergent behaviors, such as stimming in autistic individuals or hyperactivity in those with ADHD, can be misunderstood as disruptive or maybe even inappropriate. And this misunderstanding can lead to negative judgments about their capabilities. There's also a definite bias in the workplace. In professional settings, neurodivergent individuals may face biases during hiring and promotion processes. Employers might mistakenly believe that neurodivergent employees are less capable of performing certain tasks or roles. And then there's this medical model of disability. The medical model of disability focuses on what is wrong with an individual rather than recognizing their unique strengths and abilities. This perspective can contribute to the perception that neurodivergent individuals need to be, quote, fixed. So the myth also exists that neurodivergent individuals are lazy or unmotivated. This comes from the differences in their executive function. Neurodivergent individuals, such as those with ADHD, often struggle with executive function, which includes skills like organization or time management and task initiation. These challenges can be mistaken for laziness or lack of motivation. And then there's inconsistent performance. People with conditions like ADHD may have fluctuating levels of concentration and productivity. This inconsistency can be misinterpreted as a lack of effort or motivation, when in reality it is a symptom of their neurodivergence. Again, misunderstanding of behaviors. Behaviors like procrastination, difficulty starting tasks. Those are often seen as signs of laziness. However, for neurodivergent individuals, these behaviors can be linked to anxiety, overwhelm, or difficulty with task prioritization. And then there are the societal expectations. Society often has rigid expectations about how tasks should be completed and how productivity should actually look. Neurodivergent individuals may approach tasks differently, which can be perceived as not meeting those expectations. And there's a lack of awareness. There's still a significant lack of awareness and understanding about neurodivergence. Many people do not recognize the neurological basis for these behaviors and instead attribute them to character flaws. And then there are a lot of negative stereotypes. Again, with the media and then the cultural representations are often reinforced negative stereotypes about neurodivergent individuals and portray them as lazy or unmotivated without acknowledging the underlying neurological differences. There's a myth that neurodivergent individuals also can't succeed in traditional work environments. People often believe that neurodivergent individuals cannot succeed in traditional work environments due to several misconceptions and biases. For example, many people lack a proper understanding of what neurodivergence entails. They may not realize that neurodivergent individuals can have unique strengths and capabilities that are highly valuable in the workplace. And besides all the stereotypes and stigmas we're discussing and breaking down today, like stereotypes about neurodivergent individuals being less capable, lazy, or unmotivated, which contribute to the belief that they cannot succeed in traditional work environments, which are awfully just simply based on visible behaviors rather than an understanding of the underlying neurological differences. And then there are all the rigid work environments. The traditional work environment often is a rigid structure and the expectations that may not accommodate the needs of neurodivergent individuals. For example, open plan offices can be overwhelming for someone with sensory sensitivities, and strict schedules may not align with the working patterns of someone with ADHD, which alone demonstrates the lack of accommodations. A lot of these workplaces are not equipped to provide the necessary accommodations that neurodivergent individuals might need to thrive. This can be those flexible work hours or the quiet spaces or assistive technologies like noise canceling headphones. And a lot of times companies focus on weaknesses. There's often a focus on what neurodivergent individuals cannot do rather than what they can do. This deficit based perspective overlooks the unique strengths and contributions that neurodivergent individuals can bring to the workplace. Plus, there's a bias in hiring and promotion. And these implicit biases during hiring and promotion processes can lead to neurodivergent individuals being overlooked for positions or even advancement. Employers may mistakenly believe that neurodivergent candidates are not a good fit for certain roles. Most importantly, there is a lack of role models. There are very few visible role models of successful neurodivergent individuals in traditional work environments. This lack of representation can reinforce the belief that neurodivergent individuals cannot succeed in these settings. Then there's the myth that neurodivergence is a disease that needs to be cured. Neurodivergence is often seen as something to be cured due to several historical and societal factors, like mentioned above. And there are because things like the medical model of disability, and that model has dominated our understanding of neurodivergence. This model viewed differences in brain function as deficits or disorders that need to be treated and cured, and conditions like autism and ADHD were often pathologized, leading to the perception that they were problems that need to be or could even be fixed. Then there's the early research bias, and much of the early research on neurodivergence was conducted by non neurodivergent individuals who often describe these conditions as disabilities. This bias, known as ableism, contributed to the view that neurodivergent individuals needed to be cured or fixed. Again, repeating societal norms and expectations, we all know society tends to favor neurotypical ways of thinking and behaving. Neurodivergent individuals who do not conform to these norms are often seen as needing to be corrected to fit in. This can lead to the belief that neurodivergence is something undesirable and should be cured. Back to a lack of awareness and understanding, there is still a significant lack of awareness about neurodivergence, and those that are not familiar with the concept of neurodiversity, which recognizes that neurological differences are natural variations in the human brain, and that they should be respected and supported, whether it's neurodivergent or neurotypical. Cultural attitudes, there's also those that exist that are anti-disability, and the difference can also play a role. In many cultures, there's a strong emphasis on conformity and normalcy, leading to the stigmatization of those who are different. And the one that's hit me the most in my own life is that neurodivergent individuals are socially awkward or lack empathy. People often believe that the neurodivergent individual is a socially awkward or lacks empathy due to a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings, mainly because a lot of them have different communication styles. Neurodivergent individuals, such as those with autism, may have different ways of communicating and expressing themselves. These differences can be misinterpreted as social awkwardness or a lack of empathy. For example, someone with autism might avoid eye contact or have difficulty understanding social cues, which can be mistaken for disinterest or insensitivity. And then repeating the stereotype conversation we had earlier about media representation, the media often portrays neurodivergent individuals in a stereotypical manner, emphasizing traits like social awkwardness or emotional detachment. These portrayals can shape public perception and reinforce negative stereotypes. Think about shows like The Big Bang Theory, if you've ever seen that sitcom, very much about the neurodivergent individual. Then there's misunderstanding of behaviors, and certain behaviors associated with neurodivergence, such as stimming, which is the repetitive movements or sounds. Think of rocking, think of spinning a pen, think of leg bouncing. And then there's also hyperfocus. Those can be misunderstood. People might see these behaviors as odd or inappropriate, leading to the assumption that neurodivergent individuals are socially awkward. Again, lack of awareness and education. There are a lot of people that aren't aware of the nuances of neurodivergence and how it affects social interactions. They might not understand that neurodivergent individuals can experience and express empathy differently. This does not mean they lack empathy. There's a definite bias and prejudice against behaviors that deviate from the norm. Neurotypical individuals might judge neurodivergent behaviors harshly because they do not fit conventional social expectations. This bias can lead to unfair assumptions about social capabilities and empathy. People tend to only like or gravitate toward those like themselves. The 1 in 5 that are neurodivergent may not have anyone that sees them as part of their inner circle or even want them around. The overly brainy geek type also stands out because what's hard for the neurotypical comes easy and quick for the neurodivergent, and that can cause resentment on occasion. And of course, there are challenges with social skills. Some neurodivergent individuals may indeed face challenges with social skills, but this does not mean they lack empathy. They might need more explicit communication or different ways of connecting with others. With understanding and support, they can build meaningful relationships. Then there's the myth that neurodivergent individuals are all the same. People often think all neurodivergent individuals are the same due to several reasons rooted in misunderstanding and oversimplification. Again, many people are not well informed about the wide range of neurodivergent conditions. They might lump all neurodivergent individuals together without understanding the distinct characteristics of conditions like autism, ADHD, dyslexia, etc. And then back to media representation, where they get represented as in broad stereotypes and with a broad paintbrush. For example, autistic characters in movies and TV shows are frequently depicted with similar traits, such as being socially awkward or having savant abilities. This can lead to the misconception that all neurodivergent individuals are alike. And then sometimes people will oversimplify for their own personal understanding because people tend to simplify complex concepts to make them easier to understand. Neurodivergence is a complex and diverse spectrum. Simplifying it into a single category can lead to the false belief that all neurodivergent individuals share the same traits and challenges. As you've probably heard me say before, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. So there's educational and diagnostic labels, especially in schools, and that can sometimes contribute to this misconception. While these labels are useful for identifying and supporting individuals, they can also lead to the assumption that everyone with the same diagnosis is the same. In reality, there is a wide range of experiences and abilities within each neurodivergent condition. There's a lot of confirmation bias for sure. People often notice and remember information that confirms their existing beliefs. If someone believes that all neurodivergent individuals are the same, they are more likely to notice examples that support this belief and ignore those that contradict it. And then there's also a lack of personal experience. Remembering that only 1 in 5 people at the most fall into the neurodivergent spectrum, many individuals don't have a personal experience with a neurodivergent person and may rely on secondhand information and stereotypes. Without direct interaction, it is easy to generalize and assume uniformity among neurodivergent individuals. So, one of the biggest myths is that neurodivergent individuals are less capable or intelligent. This couldn't be further from the truth. Many neurodivergent people have unique strengths and talents that are incredibly valuable. So, let's address these stigmas head on. And stigmas often stem from a lack of understanding and fear of the unknown. It's crucial to educate ourselves and others about neurodivergence to combat this. Here are some true facts to consider. Number one, neurodivergence is not a disease. It's a natural variation in the human brain. Just like we have different physical traits, we also have different neurological traits. Number two, neurodivergent individuals can lead fulfilling lives. With the right support, they can also achieve their goals and contribute meaningfully to society. And number three, inclusion benefits everyone. Creating inclusive environments not only helps neurodivergent individuals, also fosters innovation and creativity within teams. So, we talked about the myth that neurodivergent individuals are less capable or intelligent. The fact is, neurodivergent people often have unique strengths and talents. For example, individuals with autism may have exceptional attention to detail and excel in fields like data analysis and software development. People with ADHD can be highly creative and excel in fast paced environments. There's the myth that neurodivergent individuals are lazy or unmotivated. The fact is, this misconception often arises from a lack of understanding of how neurodivergent brains work. For instance, someone with ADHD might struggle with executive function, making tasks like organization and time management challenging, but with the right support and strategies, they can be incredibly productive and get work done faster than even their neurotypical counterparts. The myth that neurodivergent individuals cannot succeed in traditional work environments. Well, the fact is, most neurodivergent individuals thrive in traditional work environments when they are provided with the right accommodations. Companies like Microsoft and SAP have demonstrated that neurodivergent employees can be highly successful and bring valuable perspectives to their teams and lead the charge for creativity, innovation, and escaping groupthink. Then the myth about neurodivergence is a disease that needs to be cured. The fact is, neurodivergent is a natural variation in the human brain. It is not something that needs to be fixed, but rather understood and accommodated. Embracing neurodiversity can lead to more innovative and inclusive workplaces. This neurodiversity paradigm, which emerged in the late 20th century, challenges the views by recognizing that neurological differences are normal. And this paradigm advocates for understanding, respecting, and supporting neurodivergent individuals rather than trying to cure them. Regarding the myth that neuroindividuals are socially awkward or lack empathy, well, the facts are, while some neurodivergent individuals may have different ways of socializing or expressing emotion, it doesn't mean they lack empathy or social skills. They may simply communicate and connect in ways that are different from neurotypical individuals. And then the myth that neurodivergent individuals are all the same. The fact is, neurodivergence encompasses a wide range of conditions, including autism, ADHD, dyslexia, and dyspraxia, even more. Each individual is unique with their own strengths, challenges, and ways of interacting with the world. And individuals with autism, for example, often have exceptional attention to detail, so that means they can notice patterns and anomalies that others might miss. In fields like data analysis, this skill is incredibly valuable. Imagine being able to spot trends in large data sets that could lead to groundbreaking insights or innovations. This is a talent that many neurotypical individuals might not possess to the same degree. Similarly, in software development, the ability to focus intensely on a task is a huge asset. Many autistic individuals can work on complex coding problems for extended periods without losing concentration. This level of focus can lead to more efficient problem solving and higher quality code. Companies, again, like Microsoft and SAP, have recognized these strengths and actively seek out neurodivergent talent for roles that benefit from such skills. But it's not just about autism. Individuals with ADHD, for example, often have high levels of creativity and can think outside the box. This can be a tremendous asset in roles that require innovative thinking and rapid problem solving. Their ability to hyper-focus on tasks they are passionate about can lead to bursts of productivity that drive projects forward. Dyslexic individuals, on the other hand, often excel in spatial reasoning and can think in 3D. This makes them particularly suited for careers in engineering, architecture, and design. Their ability to visualize and manipulate objects in space can lead to innovative solutions and designs that others might not conceive. It's important to remember that neurodivergence is not a deficit, but a difference. These differences can bring unique perspectives and skills to the table, enriching teams and driving innovation. By focusing on strengths rather than perceived weaknesses, we can create more inclusive and effective workplaces. As Temple Grandin, a renowned autistic advocate, once said, "The world needs all kinds of minds." This quote perfectly encapsulates the idea that diversity in thought and perception is a strength, not a weakness. In my own experience as a coach, I've seen firsthand how neurodivergent individuals can thrive when given the right support and opportunities. One of my clients who has ADHD struggled with time management and organization. Through tailored strategies and tools, they were able to transform their workflow and became one of the top performers of their team. To shed more light on this topic, listen to Maureen Dunn talk about her book, The Neurodivergent Edge, and how necessary the neurodivergent individual is to the workforce. Here's a snippet from her interview with Guy Kowalski, and the link to the whole interview will be in the show notes.
Feel conditions end up overlapping with what I would call nonlinear thinking and intuitive leaps of logic. I think that type of thinking is going to, personally, my personal view is that's going to become increasingly more important, especially as automation starts to become more prevalent in our society and in companies where a lot of the generative AI solutions still are chained to a lot of very impressive processing speed, but still extremely linear tasks that are being taken over. And I think there's this whole other domain of thinking where neurodivergent people and neurotypical people could really work well together to cover some of the more human aspects or what I would call the limitations of AI that overlap with these intuitive leaps of logic and an insight and the nonlinear domain of thinking that is really difficult to replicate from the current AI paradigm. How about you?
So, Maureen Dunn highlights the importance of understanding and embracing all people, regardless of brain wiring. We also emphasize that neurodivergent individuals often bring unique perspectives that can drive innovation.
Neurodivergent intelligence, there really isn't overlap. A lot of people hear of someone who's autistic or ADHD or dyslexic, and they make false assumptions about person's capabilities or intelligence, and it's really a separate thing. Neurodivergent people are just people like anyone else, right? They have strengths and weaknesses. They tend to have more spiky profiles from when compared to neurotypical people, but there should be no judgment about abilities and intelligence. So, an autistic person, for instance, there's just a huge range in terms of a spectrum of abilities and challenges. And just like anyone else, right? We're just people, and there's some people that are extremely intellectually gifted, and there's other people that have intellectual disabilities, but there should be no presumption about what someone can and can't do. And so, and something I really feel passionate about that I've got into detail in my book as being a cognitive scientist, of course, too, is like trying to educate people about some of these unconscious biases that really, I think, get in the way giving people fair opportunities. And I guess I'm trying to spread the message of if we can all just become more aware of these unconscious biases, we could go in the direction of having just a more productive and functional world. And I even call some.
So, as we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with a call to action. Let's challenge the stigma around neurodivergence by educating ourselves and others. Let's create environments where everyone, regardless of their neurological makeup, can thrive. Remember the quote that's sometimes attributed to Albert Einstein: everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. So let's celebrate the unique strengths and abilities of neurodivergent individuals. And the next time you hear someone say that neurodivergent individuals are less capable or intelligent, remember these examples that I've brought forward. Neurodivergent people have a lot to offer, and it's up to us to recognize and value their contribution. So that's all for today's episode of Inside the Pickle Jar. I hope you found this discussion on the stigma of neurodivergence helpful. If you want to learn more, check out the links in the show notes. And if I can help coach you through how to change your hiring practices, improving your support mechanisms, or figuring even out new DEI policies, please reach out through my website at risingtidecoaching.org. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who might benefit from our discussions. You can also follow me on social media for more insights and updates. And one last thing. If you're enjoying our discussions on Inside the Pickle Jar and want to stay updated with tips on productivity and personal relationships, I invite you to sign up for my weekly newsletter. Each week, you'll receive exclusive content, tips, and updates straight to your inbox. It's a great way to stay connected and continue our journey together. Just head over to risingtidecoaching.org and enter your email to join our community. I look forward to sharing more with you, and until next time, stay curious and keep celebrating neurodiversity.